Hello, my friends. Today is 16th of January. Now it's 1 o'clock, middle of the day by Moscow time. I'm Levan Gudadze, and you are watching my channel in which I try to share with you latest updates on the news that are making headlines in Russian media outlets. So let's begin. I'll try to make this video as short as possible, but there is a few topics that I like to talk about. First news is that Russian air defense systems, and I will show you Russian media outlets that are writing about it, and not just Russian. So first news is that Russian air defense systems in Crimea Peninsula did in previous 24 hours did shut down at least 4 Ukrainian drones. Report, and this is TASS news agency, state-run news agency, that is the biggest one in Russia. So reports are saying that at least one drone was trying to reach Belbek airfield in Crimea, and 3 other drones were trying to reach Sevastopol port area. All 4 drones were shot down over the sea, so there was no damage done on the ground. I did read some reports that this drone attack was some suggestions. I should say that this drone attack was a recon mission carried out by Zelensky's Nazi regime, and if this is the case, then probably we may see some bigger drone or missile attack on Crimea in next few hours, maybe a few days. But at least for now, we can say that Russian air defense systems did work perfectly and did shut down all drones that was sent by Zelensky's regime. This is quite significant news. I mean, all Russian media outlets are talking about this, so probably you will find it interesting too. Second news that I like to talk about is that in Belarus it started yet another joint military exercises of Russian and Belarusian armed forces. This time we are talking about exercise of air forces and air defense forces of 2 states. I mean, even Western media outlets are actively writing about it. Here we have Reuters, which is publishing article about these exercises, and they are writing that Russia and Belarus began joint military exercises on Monday, which have triggered fears in Kiev and the West that Moscow could use its ally to launch a new ground offensive in Ukraine. So what can I say? Man, we did talk about possibility on my channel. We did talk about on my channel about possibility of Russia launching so-called winter offensive from territory of Belarus, and even though I'm still thinking that there is not enough forces, Russian forces are concentrated in Belarus to launch large-scale offensive operation. After all, I'm not military expert, and only time will tell. If If Russian general staff did plan greatly offensive operation, they may probably calculated how many soldiers or military equipment they need, and if they start offensive from Belarus, probably they should know what they're doing, And because so many talks about possibility of Russia launching offensive from Belarus, I mean, who knows, man? We may see exactly that in next few weeks, at least before end of the February. Otherwise, it's not gonna be winter offensive after all. So yes, man. At least we can say right now that some Russian forces are concentrated in Belarus, not just ground forces but air forces too, and who knows? These forces may be able to carry out offensive operation. Question is, if that's the case, then in which direction this offensive will go? Because in this point there are many different opinions. Some suggestions are that Russia will try to start offensive in direction of central Ukraine and take control over Dnipropetrovsk, Kharkov regions, maybe even Zaporozhye region. Some suggestions are some predictions that Moscow may repeat itself and try to start offensive in direction of Chernihiv, Sumy, and Kiev. And some even suggest that or predict that Russia may try to cut supply lines from NATO states to Ukraine, and in that case, offensive had to go in direction of western borders of Ukraine. Anyhow, only few people in Russian general staff and in Kremlin know for sure in which direction offensive will begin, if there will be any offensive. So, we can only base our opinion on information that we are getting from open sources, and for now, it seems like Russian side is actively preparing its forces in Belarus for some action. So time will tell what will happen next. And one more topic that I like to talk about is that according to Deputy Prime Minister of Russia, Alexander Novak, Russian federal budget did receive in 2022 extra 2.5 trillion rubles from sales of the gas and oil, mainly from export of Russian gas and oil. And here we have numbers that you may find interesting, so I will read it for you. Just a sec. So Russian Deputy Prime Minister Alexander Novak presented the results of the main energy sectors for 2022. By this report, oil production for the previous year, for 2022, amounted to 535 million tons. Oil exports grow by 7%. LNG exports by 8%, up to 46 billion cubic meters. And one should say that Russia is quite a new player on LNG market, but still, numbers are quite significant. 46 billion cubic meters. It's I mean, it's not bad. Gas supplies to China increased by 48%, up to 15.5 billion cubic meters. This amount may sound like, may look like, I mean, huge, but for now, this is quite a small number. But I'm quite sure in next few years, after Russia will and China will develop the new generation of pipelines, gas pipelines, this number will increase dramatically, and in 3 to 5 years, China will probably buy from Russia up to 70, maybe even 100 billion cubic meters of gas. So here we have numbers about coal production too. So coal production in Russia did increase by 0.3%. Not big of a deal, but overall numbers are 442 million tons of coal, which is quite huge. So budget revenues from the oil and gas industry grow in 2022 is 28%, up to 2.5 trillion rubles. So that's extra 2.5 trillion rubles that Russian budget did receive from oil and gas exports. If we talk about dollars, I mean 2.5 trillion rubles is about 36 billion dollars, which is huge. I mean, for any country. I mean, even for the USA, 35 billion dollars is a big amount. I mean, significant amount. So now you tell me, how effective Western sanctions really are. Of course, they are. West did damage Russian economy in some way, and without sanctions, Russia will probably make much more. Russia will have much more income, no doubt about that. But still, Russian economy is holding. Russian economy is holding, and a few days ago, you may read about statements that Russian President Putin did made. I mean, he did said that Russian economy is better shape, is in better shape that even economists were anticipating. And even though inflation numbers are quite high, like last year, inflation was in double digits, like 11%. My personal opinion is that probably true inflation was much higher. But experts are predicting that in this year and in next year, inflation will decrease significantly, and to the end of 2023, or in the beginning of 2024, inflation may be around 5%, which is not bad really for a country that are under huge pressure from the West. So yes, Russian economy is, holding. Russian economy is diversifying, and that's good, man. That's good for us who lives in Russia, and that's good for world economy, because after all, no one give Western elites right to dominate over the world and to say to the nations how they should live, how they should operate, and Russia is standing up against these criminal Western elites, and that's why so many people that are fed up with the Western elites are supporting Russia all around the world, even in the Western states, because people in the West do understand that Western elites pose danger not just for Russia or other countries, but they are endangering citizens of the Western states too, and endangering greatly. And everyone who does understands that, of course, will at least verbally will be against Western elites and their actions. Maybe Western society does that don't really have enough instruments in their hands to do some action, but at least people can express their opinion verbally. I mean, or and write about it or say about it. At least this right is still, for time being, has been secured in the West. But some of you may disagree with me, because I did watch one video yesterday which was saying that in Russia 400 people were arrested for some posts in social media, when in Great Britain around 4,000 people was arrested for sharing opinion on social media. So you tell me how free speech really is in the West, man. So yes, this is it, man. This is it for now. I hope you find this video interesting, and if so, please push that like button. Please share your opinion in comment sections, and share information and links about my channel with your friends and in your social platforms. I'd be grateful for that support, and it will greatly increase my chances to reach wider audience. So please consider doing that. Anyhow, this is it for this video. Thank you for your time. Take care, and see you soon.